The most underrated cardio routine to be able to lose your belly fat for good. 2 weeks ago, I became a professional natural bodybuilder. I finally was able to transform my physique and going from 30% body fat to single digit and finally becoming a natural pro. And this result is due to a combination of my research and my experience over a decade, utilizing different tactics that I'm going to share with you in this video that allowed me to be able to finally get this result of becoming a professional natural bodybuilder. Over this last decade, I've undergone multiple transformations, where I was at 30% body fat going through a bulking phase with the main intention of building muscle but gaining fat as a result of being an endomorph, and then losing that fat going through my cutting phase and repeating this process to finally have this final result of becoming a professional natural bodybuilder. Utilizing these cardio strategies I'm about to share with you in this video, you'll even be able to maintain your lean physique year round. And I say this because it's the same strategies I was able to implement. Clients of mine like Tori, who went from 27% and having a dad bod to 7% eating cheesecake through his transformation and even winning his show. I was able to lose 53 pounds with my client Wayne utilizing the same strategy. My client Nicholas lost his belly fat in 4 weeks utilizing the cardio strategy that I'm about to elicit for you. And even my client Gary, who's a firefighter, was able to lose all of his belly fat utilizing the same strategy, and he will tell you. Listen to what he has to say.
It's pretty much my story. I pretty much came here. I was struggling with my weight, going up and down. I went on a limb and wanted to try this program out, and it's pretty much the best thing I've done. I've reached new heights. I've actually got to a weight where last time I was this weight, I was literally in high school.
And the list is endless. Anybody who follows the cardio routine and watches this video to the very end will be able to see the success that my clients saw if they watch this video to the very end. But let's not waste any time. Let's dive straight into it. What we're going to be paying attention to is what is the most underrated cardio for fat loss. What we're going to be looking at, number one, is the frequency. How often are we going to do this cardio? And I'm going to give you guys a laid out plan step by step that you can follow. Number two, what we want to look at is the duration. How long are we going to be doing this cardio? Number three, we want to pay attention to the modality. What type of cardio are we going to look at? Is it going to be Stairmaster? Are we going to be utilizing the treadmill, the elliptical? Are we sprinting? Are we boxing? Are we doing high intensity interval training? Or are we doing lists? And then finally, we want to pay attention to the intensity. And in this case, we want to look at your heart rate. Are we going to 180 beats where you can barely have a conversation and you can barely breathe? Or are we doing very, very easy cardio? Without further ado, let's dive straight in. First, we'll talk about intensity and how that relates to your ability to lose fat. We want to be in the MFO, the maximal fat oxidation rate. And research has consistently shown, depending on the intensity of your exercise, your body highly relies on either carbohydrates as an energy source or fat as an energy source. And in some cases, depending on your age, weight, height, and gender, it may be protein and it may change accordingly. But I want to share this chart with you. And I got this chart specifically from the Institute of Human Anatomy, but there's been countless research that agrees with this chart and that shows depending on the intensity of cardio, you will be able to burn more calories coming from fat or from carbohydrates. But I want to go through this for you. I'm going to link their video in the description down below. But looking at this, I'm going to go through this chart with you. Now, you can see the heart rate starting at 72 beats per minute, going to 127 beats per minute to 138, 144 beats per minute, and finally 153 beats per minute. As you can see, we have an increasing heart rate going down. Now, you're looking at the next columns, which is showing you the percentage of calories coming from fat and the percentage of calories coming from carbs. So as you can see, at a relatively low heart rate, almost at rest, the large percentage of your calories burnt, 78.2% is coming from fat and 21.8% coming from carbohydrates. Going to 127 beats per minute, that changes to 40.8% coming from fat and a significant increase of that going to carbohydrates. And as we go down the list, we see an inverse proportion. As you increase your heart rate, so does the percentage of total calories coming from fat, and your body highly relies on glycogen, your carbohydrates, as a source of energy, going from 21.8% to 59 to 62, to 69 to 72.8%. But that is not the entire story. Now, as you can see, our body does rely more on glycogen and carbohydrate stores as a source of energy because this is going to be the main energy source for the body. But that's not the entire picture. We want to know exactly how many calories are burned during these moments and how those percentages are reflected. So as you can see, at a lower heart rate, you'll burn 1.4. At 127, you'll burn 11.5 calories per minute. Increasing your heart rate to 138, you'll increase your calories burned to 13.4 calories. As you increase the intensity, you will be burning more calories per minute depending on the level of intensity, which we understand the higher your heart rate, the more calories you'll be burning. Now looking at it, this is where it gets extremely interesting. As you can see, at 72 beats per minute, we see that we're burning 1.1 of the total calories coming mainly from fats and only 0.3 calories from carbs out of the 1.4. And as we get to 127 beats per minute, that increases to 4.7 calories of fat per minute compared to the 6.8 calories of carbs per minute when it comes to 127 beats. As we increase, it gets as high as 5 calories per minute from fats and 8.4 carbs per minute. With all the data in front of us, what we can deduce is that our body burns the most calories from fats coming at 127 beats per minute and 138. And this is what we call zone 2 cardio. So what you're going to now notice is that I have what we call informal cardio and formal cardio. And from this day onwards in my cardio accelerator, I want you guys to always look at cardio in these two manners, informal and formal. And whenever I do formal cardio, at the bare minimum, we will be at 120 beats per minute, and at the maximum we'll be at 140 beats per minute. And that is explained by the science because we can see at those heart rates, we are optimized in the amount of fat that we're burning per minute, and we're also optimized in the amount of carbs burned per minute. Now, with that being said, research has consistently shown that the ratio between carbs and fats doesn't matter, but what matters for fat loss is the total calories burned. And for me personally, this is why I prefer being within that 127 to 140 beats per minute, because that is going to be where all my aspects in my races are optimized. I've also found that these intensities are rather sustainable, and this is exactly why I always stay between that 120 and 140 beats. So when we talk about formal cardio from this day onward, I want you to track your heart rate, and I don't want you to go to over 140 beats per minute, because if you see you're working so much more and so much more intensely, but you're not burning more fat per minute in those numbers. And at the same time, being over 140 beats per minute, the ROI, the return on your investment, isn't really that worth it because you're burning only 9.8 calories compared to 8.4, and then even at 153 beats per minute, you're burning 11.1 calories per minute in carbs compared to the 8.4, which isn't a significant difference. So this is why our intensity should always only be between 120 to 140 beats per minute. So now we know the information. Now you want to ask, okay, Dr. Mike, I know that I need to be between 120 beats per minute to 140. What is the best format for fat loss? And now I will take you through what I consider my cardio accelerator. And earlier I told you that I have two forms of cardio, informal and formal cardio. Now, what I don't like about how people interpret science as they like it to be black and white, but it's really gray. And all the information is available to us. So I utilize all of these facts to my maximal benefit. So with informal cardio will always be tracked as a number of steps. And informal cardio will always have you at that 72 beats per minute range, because this is where you will be able to easily get burned calories over a total day. Why informal cardio is also really important is because you may be establishing a caloric deficit from your diet, but as you continuously lose fat, your body finds interesting ways to make you not burn any more calories. So what ends up happening is you may be in a caloric deficit, but you may be bringing down how many calories your body's burning by moving less because your body's trying to be efficient. So by making sure and establishing how many steps you're doing, you can maintain the amount of calories you're burning each and every single day. So I've separated this into phases. In phase 1, in week 1, I want you to start with 8,000 steps. And generally, this will really burn about 200 to 250 extra calories in that day. Again, this will vary depending on your age, gender, weight, and height, but I tell all of my clients, I want you to start at 8,000 steps because, again, we know that to burn a pound of fat, you need to burn 3,500 calories. That being said, to be able to make sure that you're burning that 3,500, this is where you need to be in a 500 calories per week deficit. So to be able to establish that deficit, what if I could get you to burn 250 calories a day? In a week, you're burning an extra 1,750, and that already is half a pound of extra fat just from the walking. And imagine what happens when over time I increase the number of steps. It allows you to burn extra amount of fat, which is what exactly accelerates your ability to lose fat. So we will start at 8,000 steps. And for formal cardio in week 1, I want you to do no formal cardio. Why this is important is because we want to establish a healthy baseline with our overall cardio. A big mistake I see people make is that they start implementing formal cardio too early, and when you get to week 10, week 16, which is the 4th month of your transformation, you will be exhausted, and it's very likely that you won't get to your final destination because you didn't manage accordingly. Now, moving into week 2, you can move your steps, your formal cardio, to 8,500. This is being able to slowly increase your overall daily activity and burning more calories. What I then suggest is to start implementing now your formal cardio from week 2 onwards. And I recommend the frequency of 3 sessions per week and the duration being at 15 minutes. And I want you to be through this phase 1, which is the first 4 weeks, between that 120 to 140 beats per minute. And that's for week 2, 3 sessions, 15 minutes. Now, before I continue on to the next 16 weeks, you may be asking, Dr. Mike, what form of cardio, what modality should I use? Should I go boxing? Should I run? What should I do exactly? I highly recommend just doing an incline walk on the treadmill, or B, a Stairmaster, compared to sprinting or jogging, and I'll tell you why. Walking on an incline on the treadmill was very helpful because, number one, I felt that the impact on my entire body, like literally the shock that you're hitting onto the body, was not as severe compared to running or just skipping rope. My knees were able to take the impact, and it wasn't doing as much physical damage to my body. Research has also shown that exercises that have less impact on the body will actually allow you to retain a lot more muscle. Another tool that you can use if you don't want to walk incline on the treadmill is using an elliptical. Because you're just gliding, this also minimizes the amount of impact and friction on your entire body and on your knees, because as time passes, we're going to increase the frequency and duration. And then the third piece of cardio that I enjoy using is a Stairmaster. Now, anything outside of that, in my experience, I didn't enjoy because of the high impact, or I just found it very, very boring or challenging to get my heart rate to that 120 to 140 beats. So with all my clients, I say, hey, if you're gonna do formal cardio, you can get on a treadmill and get on max incline, or you can get on an elliptical, and finally, if you have it in you, to do a Stairmaster. Those are the 3 best that I found for me throughout my prep, be able to give me the results that I want. And I'm going to talk about high intensity just coming up. Now, moving on to week 3, we want to move to 9,000 daily steps and doing 3 sessions of cardio at 20 minutes. And as you guys can see, I am doing a small stepwise manner. And what this allows you to do is that it gives you longevity. It allows you to have gas in your tank when you get to week 16. And it allows us to create an even bigger caloric deficit. What I've also, and why I call this the cardio accelerator, is because we're consistently increasing our caloric expenditure. It allows us to avoid any plateaus within our fat loss because we're consistently increasing and intelligently increasing our caloric deficit through our activity. And also we're allowing our body to healthily adapt and to sustainably adapt to the new forms of cardio that we're doing. And I also at this very point want to say, besides cardio's ability to be able to improve your overall fat composition, it is extremely helpful for your brain function, and it is fantastic for exactly what it's called, for your overall cardiovascular health. You'll find that you'll develop more vessels, there'll be better vascularization to your entire body, and it is amazing mentally and physically and for your overall health and endurance. Now, in the final phase, in the final week of phase 1, we will do 10,000 daily steps. We will do a 1,000 step increase, and we'll move to 3 sessions of cardio at 25 minutes. So we've gone to no cardio in week 1, to 15 minutes at 3 sessions, 20 minutes at 3 sessions in week 3, and in week 4, 3 sessions of 25 minutes. You can put your hand on the machine just to see where your heart rate is, but I don't want you to hold the railings because it defeats the purpose. Do not hold the railing. Now, moving on to phase 2, we want to do 10,500 daily steps, and we want to do 4 sessions of cardio at 30 minutes. Now, at this point, you may be asking, Dr. Mike, where do I find the time to be able to hit 10,000 daily steps? Now, always remember this, man. 10 minutes of walking will always give you 1,000 steps. 5 minutes of walking will give you 500 steps. And these are easy ways to do it. Number 1, wake up early. And if you go for an hour walk around your neighborhood, you can get 6,000 steps. 60 minutes, 6,000 steps. You can also get an under the desk treadmill or a walking pad at home that allows you to get 6,000 steps at your own convenience. And a walking pad is $200 to $300. That can be one of the best investments that you put into your health. It allows you the time convenience and it removes any excuses. And I've made a simple habit to myself that whenever I'm on the phone, I need to be walking, and you guys can do the same. So these 6,000 steps you can get walking at the neighborhood. You can also get 2,000 steps doing walking between each set. In a normal exercise routine, you'll have about 20 sets. And between sets, you'll always at least have 1 minute of rest. Instead of sitting on your phone, you can walk between the set. So you can get 2,000 steps just between your workout alone. If you decide that you want to have 10 minutes of walking before your workout as a warm-up and 10 minutes of walking after your workout, that's 4,000 steps. So 6,000 for your morning walk in the morning, and then another 4,000 during your workout session. Voila, 10,000 steps done. And you just need to be able to manipulate the math that way. Another piece of advice I give to my clients is that, hey, if you're working at a desk and you're working at work for 12 hours, if you stand up for the last 5 minutes of every hour, so at 8:55, 9:55, 10:55, and so on, every 5 minutes, that's going to give you 6,000 steps just walking 5 minutes every day. So all you need to do is gamify the process. And again, this is why I call it the cardio accelerator. And when my clients was able to think this way, and just play it as a game and try and wake and walk as much as you can, just becoming conscious about your overall bodily activity, what ends up happening over time as we're increasing it, this becomes a healthy habit. You will actually start feeling unhealthy when you've just been seated the whole time. It's actually bad for your posture and your overall health, and also will improve your overall body's blood flow. Moving on into week 6, we'll move to 11,000 steps and we'll do 4 sessions at 30 minutes. Week 7, 11,500 steps and 4 sessions 30 minutes. So we maintain it and we allow our body to adapt in phase 2. And at this point, I want you to hone in more on the diet, create a caloric deficit more through your diet at phase 2. And for a lot of my clients, they're already starting to see their 6-pack at the end of phase 2 because they've now established the correct things that they need to create the identity that allows them to be able to maintain this newfound physique. And for your formal cardio, I want your heart rate to be at a minimum of 130 beats per minute and to 140 beats per minute. Into phase 3, week 9. 12,500 steps, and we're moving our cardio sessions to 5 sessions during the week at 35 minutes. I highly recommend to always do your cardio post-workout. We want to be able to utilize where we have the most energy and give that towards our exercising so that you can be able to build muscle, and always doing your cardio routine at the end of your training session. Research has shown this will allow you to be able to build the most amount of muscle and to lose the most amount of fat. Into week 10, we'll go to 13,000 steps at 5 sessions at 45 minutes. Week 11, 13,500 steps, doing 5 sessions of 45 minutes. Week 12, now this is at the end of 3 months, doing 14,000 steps at 6 sessions at 45 minutes. Again, as time progresses, depending on the results you're seeing, you can stop much sooner compared to this cardio accelerator that I've given you. But when I have a client be at this stage, we start making the decision if we want to start focusing just more on the diet, depending how much time you have. But if you find yourself in a position where you cannot do any more cardio, then just make sure you continuously establish the caloric deficit through the diet, and that is completely fine. Now, at this stage, if you're finding this information helpful, all I ask is to simply scroll down and leave the video with a gentle thumbs up. This will reach the people who are looking for a sustainable way to finally see their 6-pack and a cardio routine. So just leave the video the like. And if you have a story to share, if you feel like this is a terrible cardio routine, let me know. Or if it's a great one, or let us know what you're doing that has allowed you to see success with your cardio routine in the comment section down below. And then finally in phase 4. Phase 4 and this level that I do is personally what I did leading up to my competition. We went into week 13 at 14,500 steps, 7 sessions and 45 minutes. Week 14, 15,000 steps. I was then from that point doing 7 sessions of 1 hour cardio, trying to lose as much fat as possible. And at this stage, I want to share this. Research has shown that the most efficient amount of cardio is 3 sessions at 20 minutes. And in this research paper, it showed that you start to lose muscle mass after that particular point. There's a significant decrease in your muscle tissue size as a result. Now, again, that's what research says, but when your main objective is fat loss, then you need to optimize for that goal. And with that being said, this is why we happily increase our overall caloric expenditure through cardio, because that's our main goal. And this is exactly my entire cardio routine and the scientific reason behind why. I'm still tapping into that zone 1 cardio and still burning those easy calories. I call it easy money. And then I have sessions where I have optimized routines in terms of losing fat. And I found that following this cardio routine, doing the steps, and then just doing the incline walking, which I would consider moderate intense cardio, to be the most optimized for fat loss. Throughout this prep, I also did boxing, which I absolutely love. But this is what I found with boxing. When I did boxing, the intensity of that is very high. It was high intensity interval training, doing 3 minutes of intense boxing. I found that my hunger would be severe on those days. And the reason for that is because I created such a caloric deficit and my body wants to replenish that energy demand because I've burned through that so quickly in a short amount of time. So every time I did a session of high intensity interval training, I would find that there would be a slight decrease in my overall diet adherence. And research has shown this. You end up burning more calories through high intensity, but a lot of the times you end up eating it back through the diet. And I would find myself adding a little bit more sauces to my food and just, having a bit of my partner's chips or chocolate. And I found this consistent with high intensity interval training. So by simply just not doing any high intensity interval training, I found that my diet adherence was so high and I was losing fat so much quicker because I was sticking to the diet, which is king. And that is what I found. And that's why I want to encourage you guys. You don't have to do high intensity interval training to lose belly fat. Most of the time, you're just going to eat it back. And the second thing that was really tough about the boxing was the recovery time. So what I found is that I may burn total 4,000 calories on my boxing days, but on the following day, I would lay in bed the entire day with a desire to just sleep. So I found that intensity training does have its place, and it may be really good for those who don't have time, but it doesn't have to be the foundation of your cardio routine. And I'll leave the video here. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. Let me know in the comment section down below what cardio routine you're following. Leave the video with a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.